Welcome back to the Nerdy Grail, and now that we are into 2026, a brand new year of movies and cinema trips will be upon us. And like I did last year, where I did a ranking for my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2025, I am doing the exact same thing again this year, doing my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2026. Now keep in mind, this is just my personal opinion, and I will be putting these movies on the list for a number of reasons. Whether I'm really excited about seeing the movies, whether I'm intrigued because I think the movies might be so bad that they're funny. There's a variety of reasons why these are on the list, and that is what I will describe when we get to them. So let's waste no more time and jump straight into my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2026. Kicking off the list, we have The Mandalorian and Grogu, a series which did start out on Disney Plus, having not one, not two, but 3 seasons on Disney Plus, with the 4th season technically now being transferred and has become a theatrical movie to be released in cinemas on the 22nd of May 2026. Now, The Mandalorian for me is probably the best of the Star Wars shows that was put on to Disney+. I do have a bit of a soft spot for Obi-Wan Kenobi. I just love the pairing of Grogu and Mando through the series. I think it's really, really good. It's visually stunning. All the side characters and plot lines, for me anyway, have been quite consistent and are fairly fun to watch. I am interested to see how they've managed to turn it into a theatrical movie. I will say the title, The Mandalorian and Grogu, is a bit of an odd choice for a title, but it doesn't mean that I'm not looking forward to seeing it in the cinemas, and hopefully we'll get a fairly strong Star Wars related movie this year, because obviously in the past with like The Rise of Skywalker and The Last Jedi, they've been a bit hit or miss. But yeah, that's why for me, coming in at number 10 on my list, as my first most anticipated movie of the year, we have got The Mandalorian and Grogu. In 9th place, we have Toy Story 5. Yes, I can't believe I'm actually saying Toy Story 5. We've had loads of Toy Story movies, spin-offs, shorts over the years. I personally think the series should have ended with Toy Story 3, but in 2019 we were graced with Toy Story 4, and now on June 19th, 2026, we are going to be graced with Toy Story 5. And this movie is particularly on the list because I'm just like, how on earth are they going to get Woody back with the core crew? Because if I'm being honest, the perfect ending was in Toy Story 3, and I think a lot of people agree with that, you know, with the toys. Andy, now grown up, left the toys behind, they've got a new owner and a new life. So when Toy Story 4 came around, we were a bit shocked and puzzled. And also, it, in my personal opinion, did proper character assassination of Woody in particular, leaving his owner behind, basically to get with Bo Peep again. And now, by looks of the trailers as well, the teaser trailer we've got so far, he's back with Buzz and the gang. And they're going to be taking on technology this time, which for a plot, taking on technology is fairly good, you know, because we do live in an age now where kids are more likely to play on video games or use their phones and iPads. So I agree, that is the right way to go down it. But in terms of character-wise, I don't really understand how this is going to work, so it has intrigued me in that sense. So that's why, for me, Toy Story 5 is definitely one of my most anticipated films of 2025, coming in 2026, coming in at number 9. Coming in number 8, we got a movie franchise that is slashing its way back onto our screens this February of 2026. Yes, I'm of course talking about the slasher, horror, comedy, whatever you want to title it, of Scream 7. Yes, so we've had 7 Scream movies. The first one was really, really good in my personal opinion. I thoroughly enjoyed Scream. It was fantastic. Scream 2 was also pretty good. I mean, I've enjoyed most of these movies, just my enjoyment has started to wane a little bit as time has gone on. We had Scream 3 then, which was okay. This was actually the first Scream I ever watched, so it's got a bit of a personal nostalgia bias for me, but I'm a bit hit or miss on it. Scream 4 I actually don't own physically, but I have actually seen it. It was okay, nothing special. Obviously, when it came back then with Scream 5, I mean, they've started to take a lot more of a darker turn. Like, it's not as comedic. Even though it was never fully comedic, it did obviously have the comedic edge to it, as you obviously can tell when you watch any of the Scary Movie franchise. And then, obviously, we had Scream 6, which was the first Scream movie I actually went to the cinema to go watch, taking place thoroughly in New York. I thought the New York setting was really, really interesting. But it did start to lose a little bit of the charm for me personally in Scream 6. And now that we're getting Scream 7, I don't know. Is this franchise, milking itself too much? Is it, I don't know, losing its spark? Should it really stop? But I am interested to see where it keeps going. And Scream does have something for me that keeps drawing me back again and again and again. So I am going to the pictures to watch it. I am going to see and check it out and see what happens. Because I think Ghostface is an antagonist and is quite iconic, really. You see this pretty much everywhere. Like I said, Scary Movie basing most of itself on Scream as well is really interesting. I love the scary movies as well. But yeah, so Scream 7. I am interested to see where it goes from here. Hopefully, well, I mean, I wouldn't mind there being a Scream 8, but maybe this should be like the big grand finale now of the Scream franchise, And let's go out with a bang and take it back to its true roots. So that's why Scream 7 is at number 8 on my most anticipated films of 2026. In 7th place on my most anticipated movies of 2026, we have a sequel to a horror thriller comedy-esque film that I didn't anticipate on getting a sequel, especially so long after the first movie. I am, of course, talking about Ready or Not, which as a concept for a movie I thought was both really silly but also really intriguing. A woman who marries into a family and has to play a deadly game in order to survive. They play a game of hide and seek and she has to basically survive until the next day. And I thought that was really, really interesting, but it really did seem to me like this was a sort of movie that you could really only do as a one-off. It didn't really feel like a movie that you could do a sequel for. So then when I found out that actually Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, which is the title for the next movie, which, okay, I guess kind of makes sense going based on the hide-and-seek gimmick, was actually coming out and was true, I was very shocked and very stunned, to say the least, because I didn't think they could do it. I was a little disappointed at the end of this movie that it sort of took a bit more of like a supernatural-esque route, rather than just your typical family who have just gone insane and are hunting down the bride, in order to just do her in, basically. I thought, as a main protagonist as well, our main core protagonist was really, really good, really, really engaging. And this time they're bringing, I believe, her like sister or something into this as well. So she's not only got to defend herself, but she's also got to defend other people as well. So I think that might add a little bit of extra to it. There's some really interesting casting choices in this next movie as well. Like, from the trailers and everything, you can tell that Elijah Wood is going to play a huge part in this. And I'm like, what is Elijah Wood doing in this movie? But that should be quite fun. It's going to be a fun movie, I reckon, which is one of the reasons why I want to go and see it. And like I said, I didn't anticipate that they would actually do a sequel to it. So obviously, it's piqued my interest, which is why, obviously, I'm going to go to the cinema to see it. And I'm going to see if it was actually worth making a sequel on, and whether the sequel is actually going to be as good as the first one, worse, or better. We'll just have only time will tell, really. But that is why Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, is on my list. Coming at number 6 is probably what's going to end up being potentially the very first movie that I see this year, because it comes out right at the end of this month in January, and that is a film titled Primate, which really, really intrigued me. When I first heard the title and saw like the teaser poster of this movie, I thought, it sounds quite generic. But then when I watched the trailer that came out, the full trailer, again, it does recycle some plot lines that have been done in the past. But it did seem really interesting. You've got this group of characters all in this nice villa, house, going on like holiday, that sort of thing. There's this monkey that has been like genetically brought up and has been adapted and changed. It speaks using an iPad. It seems quite friendly towards the family. They've adopted it practically into the family as one of their own, known as Ben. And he seems really cute and cuddly. And then just all of a sudden, one night, something mysterious happens and Ben ends up getting all twisted and ends up actually going to attack his owners and his friends. He turns against everyone, and it becomes like your typical horror movie of a group of characters who end up having to run away from a big ferocious monster. So it becomes then your generic horror film, but it's done in a really weird way, and it's done, like a friend turned foe, and it really intrigues me as to what caused this. Will he stay a villain? Will he have moments where he flashes back to being good? Or will, as soon as he becomes bad, he's bad for the rest of the movie? Is he going to die? Is he going to live? Is he going to get cured? What's actually going to happen to Ben? Because, whenever it comes to animals in horror movies, we always have a bit of a, ooh, will they, won't they? Ooh, what's going to happen? So I'm really, really intrigued to see what they're going to do with this movie called Primate. And like I said, it comes out right at the start of the year. And it's kind of weird that a lot of horror movies, like Scream 7 and stuff, tend to come out right at the start of the year as opposed to towards the end of the year. But they probably think, obviously, it's probably going to do the best then as well. But yeah, so that's why for me, Primate is coming at number 6 on my most anticipated movies of 2026. Coming in number 5, we have the next movie in James Gunn's DC Studios or DC Universe, that being Supergirl. So obviously, last year in 2025, we had the first movie, Superman, and he decided that he was going to do Supergirl next. We got a slight tease of Kara at the end of Superman. Well, we don't know necessarily whether she was coming from her movie, whether, the end of the Superman movie is going to then lead into the Supergirl movie. Who knows what's going to be in this particular movie and how it's going to start, how it's going to tie into Superman. Rumors are that Superman will appear in the movie. I love that we've got Krypto again. If you've seen any of my reactions or you know me, you know that I love Krypto. And so I'm glad we're going to get Krypto in the next movie as well. But yeah, this really, really, when watching the trailers, you can really tell it's got James Gunn's stamp on it. It definitely has his style of humor in it. It definitely has his visual flair into it. But the only problem I have with the Supergirl movie is it does look exactly like another Guardians of the Galaxy movie, which, with James Gunn, that's to be expected. But it almost feels like that's the only kind of movie that he can do. And you can't really just implement that into every single superhero, every single character that you do, because then it gets repetitive, then it gets boring, then it gets a bit untrue to form. So I'm kind of concerned, but I am looking forward to Supergirl because, I don't know an awful lot about Supergirl. Supergirl's not top priority on my radar for me in terms of the DC Universe, but I have found her fascinating, and I did find her fascinating when she cameoed in this, because I thought she's going to be leading a whole movie, so can we see that for a whole movie? That would be interesting. So we'll just have to wait and see what the Supergirl movie has. I'm going to be a little bit optimistic, but I do have some concerns. But that's why Supergirl 2026 is number 5 on my most anticipated movies of 2026. So coming in at number 4, remember when I said earlier about horror movies coming out quite at the start of the year, and in terms of Primate being potentially one of the first movies that I see this year? Well, also this particular movie is going to potentially be one of the first that I see this year. This is another sort of horror thriller style movie titled Send Help from Sam Raimi, which if you know anything about Sam Raimi, you know what he can do with some scary stuff, some scary imagery and everything. So it's going to be really, really interesting. And the concept of this movie sounded fascinating to me. Basically, you've got this woman who works for this company, and her bosses are basically dicks. Basically, she gets abused and tormented and belittled all the time. They end up going away, and the plane crashes that they're on. The plane with all the bosses and all the crew, they all crashes. They land on an island, and it seems that the boss and our main protagonist lady are the only two that survive. The boss is injured and so has to rely on the woman to help him. And then you just start to see this power dynamic shift. So she becomes more in command because she's, gone a bit crazy, and she sort of abuses the situation. And so you've got this bit of this power struggle going on between the two of them. And I thought that was really, really fascinating. She starts to go crazy, and he starts to have to fear for his life. And they sort of start having to defend themselves against each other, not just against trying to survive the island in general and wait for help to arrive, but so that they don't end up killing each other. And it just seems really fascinating and bizarre for a movie. But a concept that I've not at least watched in any movie before, but I think could be a really fun and interesting and tense concept for a movie as well. Because I don't know how this movie's going to end. I couldn't possibly tell you whether the woman will be the only survivor, whether the boss will, whether they'll reconcile at the end. Who knows what could possibly happen by the end of this movie. But one thing I am certain of, it's going to be an intense ride, and I can't wait to go to the cinema to watch this. So that's why, for me, Send Help is up here at number 4, my most anticipated movies of 2026. Taking the third spot on this list of my most anticipated movies of 2026, it's none other than Spider-Man Brand New Day. So the fourth Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, following on from the events of Spider-Man No Way Home, or at least that's what I'd hope to believe, but who knows? There's so little. Well, there's been like leaks and rumors of who different characters could be, of who returning people could be. But, you know, it's one of the most confusing movies, I think, of the year so far in terms of what's true, what's not, and what's going to happen. Obviously, we're still due to have an actual proper teaser trailer or official trailer come out for this. All we've had is obviously the title reveal and the suit reveal for Spider-Man Brand New Day, which does look quite cool. But yeah, we'll have to just wait and see what happens. I am looking forward to this. I do like Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I say personally, Andrew Garfield is my favourite Spider-Man. I do like Tobey Maguire as well, but there's nothing against Tom Holland. I think he is a fantastic Spider-Man, and I'm interested to see where they go from here. But I also don't want them to completely ignore everything that happened in No Way Home either. That's the only problem and worry that I have. And also, it would be nice for Tom Holland's Spider-Man to actually stand on his own a little bit, because he's always had other heroes and, you know, not necessarily his own proper villains, because they've all been either tied to Tony Stark or from another universe, like in No Way Home. And in terms of heroes, you know, obviously he's worked with the Avengers, he's worked with Iron Man, he's worked with Doctor Strange, you know. It'd be nice for Tom Holland's Spider-Man to truly stand on his own, but from what we know from leaks and stuff, he's going to be potentially with people like the Punisher and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, oh, come on, can't this Spider-Man stand on his own, you know? But anyway, I am looking forward to Spider-Man Brand New Day, which I believe comes out end of July 2026. So we'll have to wait and see what Marvel, Sony and all have in store for us with this fourth installment into Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Coming in second place on my most anticipated movies of 2026 is the Super Mario Galaxy movie, the sequel to the Super Mario Brothers movie. Yeah, I love Mario as a video game franchise and as a character. I am more of a Sonic fan, but Mario holds a dear place in my heart, and I thought that this Mario movie was absolutely fantastic. I have seen the original Mario movie as well, which I do also own physically, which is actually, you know, I wouldn't say it's underrated, but it is so bad it's funny. It's not a great movie, but it is so bad it's funny. But this was a fantastic Mario movie. The animation, the character designs were all flawless and was really true to the Mario franchise, in my personal opinion. And I'm looking forward to the Super Mario Galaxy movie, because Super Mario Galaxy is one of my favourite Mario games of all times. And I know that in this movie, obviously, they're introducing a lot more characters to the franchise. One character in particular, which we haven't seen in the trailers yet, but I think we've had like a leak image of. But I'm looking forward to is obviously my boy Yoshi, like proper green Yoshi. I love Yoshi. Yoshi is my favourite Mario character. I adore Yoshi. But obviously we're also getting Rosalina and Bowser Jr. So we're getting a lot more characters and we're going to get a lot more lore into the Mario universe. So I am looking forward to seeing what they implement. We've seen in the trailer that they're implementing things from things like Super Mario Odyssey and stuff like that. But I am hoping that, you know, since they've titled it the Mario Galaxy movie, that they're going to actually focus in particular on the Galaxy stuff. And it's not just a throwaway thing that they're going to use to try and get people in seats. Listening to the soundtrack, you know, the little rendition they've got from the Galaxy theme and stuff, I think it's just fantastic. Like, again, Illumination and Nintendo have done a fantastic job in bringing the Mario universe to life, in my personal opinion. I think, obviously, I'm sort of adjusting to Chris Pratt as Mario and Jack Black as Bowser. I think, you know, now that they're interesting choices, and also they've done really, really well. So that doesn't bother me in any shape of the imagination. I know some people are a bit odd and I'm thinking that the casting choice now of Bowser Jr. is a bit of an off one, but they might grow to love it as well. So let's just wait and see. Only time will tell in terms of the Mario movie. But yeah, for me, that's why the Super Mario Galaxy movie comes in at number 2 on my most anticipated movies of 2026. Coming in at number 1, come on, let's be real. There's only one movie that was going to take the top spot, and it's probably on the vast majority of people's most anticipated movie of 2026. I'm, of course, talking about Avengers Doomsday. Yeah, the long-awaited sequel to the Avengers. We haven't had an Avengers movie since Avengers Endgame, which more or less ended the Infinity Saga. I know we had Far From Home as well, but this was the climax of the Infinity Saga, the climax of the OG Avengers. and now we've got Avengers Doomsday, which from teaser trailers that we've had so far, we're getting the return of Thor. We're getting the return in particular of Steve Rogers. Whether he's playing Captain America or not, who knows? By the teasers, it looks like he's going to be playing Captain America or a variant of Captain America. You know, we know we're getting Robert Downey Jr. back, but this time, obviously, he's going to be playing Victor Doom, the main antagonist of the movie. We could get an Iron Man cameo, who knows? But Avengers Doomsday is going to be one of the biggest cinematic movies of all time. It's going to blow everything out the water. It's got such high stakes. And, you know, it's set the bar so high, people are so anticipating on it. And after years of Marvel movies sort of going up and down in terms of being mediocre to good to absolute garbage, we're hoping that this one will bring it back to form and give us what we have been craving for literally the last 6 odd years in terms of the MCU, and maybe give one last major hurrah to some of the OGs like Chris Hemsworth, like Mark Ruffalo, like Chris Evans, and like obviously Robert Downey Jr., who started it all for us way back in Iron Man 1, which is still a fantastic movie. And I love Robert Downey Jr. He's superb. So I'm really interested to see what Avengers Doomsday's got. I'm going to be there. I'm going to do reviews. And it's going to be an absolute wild ride from start to finish. And I can't wait. And also we're going to get other characters like the OG X-Men and the Fantastic Four. How are they all going to tie into it? What's going to happen in this movie? But we're going to have to wait for the end of 2026 for that, when the Avengers return in Avengers Doomsday. And that is my most anticipated movie of 2026. You have it. That is my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2026. I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, please like it by giving it a thumbs up and comment down below what are your most anticipated movies of 2026. But let's remember to keep all comments respectful, please. And subscribe if you're new. But for now, this is the Nerdy Girl signing off. I hope you've had an amazing day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now, everyone.